Welcome to Travel Babble with Basha. I am Basha, your hostess today, as we sail off on a cruise ship and wondering, what about my phone? You're on vacation. You want to disconnect. Maybe you need to keep in touch with family. Maybe you need to check work emails. Maybe you need to spend a few hours or a few days working while you're on that cruise ship. All are valid. Don't let anyone tell you to just put the phone in the safe and not take it out. You do you. What is right for you and your family may not be right for others. And while we're discussing this, don't judge others about what they do either. I've had trips where I only used my phone to take pictures. I've also had trips where I spent a few hours most days working, in meetings, on phone calls. Most of my trips have been somewhere in between. I couldn't totally ignore the outside world, but I didn't need an overabundance of phone use either. In those cases, I was generally able to work within the limited minutes that I received from my cruise ship, Wi-Fi in port, and my mobile carrier's international service. So let's think about some things to consider, because many of us cannot leave home without our gadgets. And our favorite gadget is our phone. First of all, when you get on the ship and you're leaving port, put your phone in airplane mode. You may need to look into the settings of where to do this. Mine is a simple drop down as I pull it down and I just click the airplane mode button. You don't want to forget this step. I don't care what anybody tells you, when you're on the ship, out in the middle of the ocean, if you're not on airplane mode, you may get roaming charges and you'll come home to a big bill from your mobile carrier. Some ships may have packages with your carrier that allow you to use your phone on their ship through their service, but in that case you still may have roaming charges, so make sure you look into that. Keep in mind also, as you stop in different ports, depending on where you go, there may be international travel charges. I have an international plan that's connected to my phone. It only goes into effect if I take it out of airplane mode and the phone recognizes that I'm outside of the U.S. For me, I can get a monthly plan, but generally I get the $10 a day plan, because most places I can hook up to Wi-Fi and I can do everything that I need to on my phone. If I need to have the cell service available while I'm away from Wi-Fi, then I will get the $10 a day plan. Keep in mind, your mobile carrier may allow you to use your phone in other countries. Mine can be used in Mexico, Canada. We sometimes forget Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands are part of the U.S. I can use my phone, no international charges, in all of those areas. It is very convenient. When I stop, I get off, and I can make all my phone calls, check everything in really quickly. There is Wi-Fi on most ships that works with the ship's app, and you may be able to use it for your phone or your laptop or your tablet. Your cruise may include Wi-Fi. In that case, you may be able to use it, or it may include a certain number of minutes. If you do only get a certain number of minutes, be sure after you have checked that you log out. I've known of people who have gone through, they got 150 minutes and they went through it in their first day at sea because they forgot or did not know to log out. So make sure if you have those minutes that you log out. In most cases, you can only use those minutes on one device at a time. So if you're like me and you travel with your phone, you travel with your laptop, you travel with your tablets, you can only use one device at a time. Most of the time that's fine. Occasionally I want to make a phone call while I'm looking at something on the internet, and it can be difficult in that case. But you can switch in a lot of cases between devices, but only use one at a time. Some places you may have regular Wi-Fi and you may have streaming Wi-Fi. What's the difference? Usually you need to upgrade to get the streaming Wi-Fi, to use such things as Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, other types of things like that. You may have to do that to use Netflix or Hulu or even YouTube. If those are important to you, then you will need to upgrade. Most of the time I can get away without it unless I have meetings. One time I was on a transatlantic and I forgot that I had scheduled myself to do a keynote presentation, and I had to do the streaming Wi-Fi. It came in handy because I also needed to work, and so I was willing to pay for that upgrade. Phone calls and texts sometimes will work, sometimes will not work. Just need to check it out. Many people will not use the phone call and text. They will communicate with their family, maybe through Facebook Messenger. I use WhatsApp quite frequently for communications. Some ships that have the Wi-Fi, you don't actually have to use your minutes sometimes. I've heard rumor, I don't have an iPhone, but those who have an iPhone can sometimes get messaging through to their family and friends without using minutes or without using the Wi-Fi. I've never, as I said, experienced that, but I've heard that from quite a few people. Some ships will also have an app that you can communicate with people who are on board with you. You each sign up for that app. It's usually a $5 to $10 charge per day, or per person, or per cruise. You have to check and see what their costs are. Everybody that you want to communicate has to sign up with it, but then it's a good way to stay in touch with others who are on the cruise with you. Games, pictures, anything that you've downloaded that does not require Wi-Fi, of course you can still use it, but keep in mind any pictures you take, if you back up to some backup in the cloud, it will not back up until you hook up to the Wi-Fi. So any pictures you take, you must make sure that they get backed up the next time you connect to the Wi-Fi. If you don't want to use your Wi-Fi on a ship, most ports will have some place where there is free Wi-Fi. It may be a restaurant, it may be a visitor center. If you're not sure where to find it or you don't see signs, ask the crew. You will see the crew head off the ship when they're allowed to, and they will head out to wherever it is the free Wi-Fi. I've watched them plenty of times. I've stood right there with the crew, leaned up against a wall, trying out our Wi-Fi and checking in on messages. They have to pay on board for their Wi-Fi as well. They may take a little cheaper rate than you do, but they still have to pay for it. So they're looking for that free Wi-Fi as well because they want to communicate with their families. So watch the crew or ask the crew, where can I go in this port to find free Wi-Fi? If all else fails, you can use the ship phone to call back home, but it's expensive. I've seen it anywhere from $2 to almost $10 per minute. That would hopefully only be your last resort when you can't do anything else. Above all, no matter what I've said today, and my caveat is, check with your mobile carrier to be sure what is included, when you'll have to pay roaming charges, to see what ports or what countries that you're visiting may be included in your plan, or if you can get an international plan that you only pay for when you use it. Hope this helps you. Let's all use our phones. Let's be mindful of how others, we don't judge anybody, whether you put it in the safe and leave it or you use it every day quite frequently. You do you, and I hope this was helpful. If so, like my video, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment. And now it's time to pack your bags and put your phone in there.